Morning all, I am back in my kitchen and I have a quick one for you today about SearchGPT, Perplexity, this rise of AI search engines. This is of course the reason why we're here, right? We're all starting to see this at the top of the Google search results. This is called AI overviews. Some of you who were a little earlier into this game may have known it as SGE or Search Generative Experience. Terrible name. AI overviews, not bad. I'd have gone with AI summaries myself, but there you go. What Google are doing here is at the top of the search page, they are trying to answer the question for you. Now, this might look like it's a helpful addition, but it's actually causing enormous implications for the entire marketing industry. So up until now, you and I have associated Google as being a search engine. We would put in some words, we would do a search, we would get a bunch of links, and we had this sort of emotional, mental connection to Google that they were the ones that would give us the best links to look at, right? And we click on them. Great. What they're now doing is not really being a search engine. Now they're becoming a knowledge engine because of this. And so AI overviews is going off to websites, grabbing information, summarizing it, bringing it back and answering the questions. So that's why we're here, because this trend is now happening. And this trend is happening for a couple of reasons. We are now, October 24? So January 23, ChatGPT's arrival shocked Google, right? Google, I don't think, had any idea that it was really this far on. And since then have really been trying to figure out what they do next. They had Bard, now they've got Gemini, right? They're figuring it out. ChatGPT, though, has retrained hundreds of millions of people to, instead of having this fragmented, almost one-way conversation with Google, to now have a back and forth conversation and get much richer, much better answers. And humans are like, oh yeah, this sucks less, right? This is faster, this is better, this is great. So this is why we're here. I'm going to run a full webinar in depth on SearchGPT. Today I want to sort of show you what's happening and put it on your radar. You can email me, dax@fomo.ai, subject line SearchGPT or Search Webinar, whatever, and I'll make sure you get the invite for that. The implications of AI overviews alone is going to see a 50% reduction in total clicks from Google. Right? It's an astonishing statement, but I will tell you again here, October 2024, I'm talking to brands every single week that are starting with FOMO.ai. They're all down 15 to 25% in traffic. And some of them are coming to us thinking, oh, that's because I need to optimize more, or my rankings have got worse, right? And it's not. Some of them it is. For most, it's not. And what it really is the fact that AI overviews is doing the job that their site used to do. Isn't that crazy? Right? It's doing the job. It is giving people the answers to the questions they need. And as AI overviews get better and better and better, we are going to see this reduction in clicks accelerate. Many, many people think it's going to be around 50% within the next 18 to 24 months. That feels right to me as an average. I think some industries it'll be significantly higher loss. Some industries it just doesn't make sense to have the AI overview. Be interesting to see how they deal with medical stuff, for instance. So the percentage might be less. We don't know. The other thing that's happening is we've had this enormous rise of voice search. Very, very relevant to what's going on here. These stats are crazy, right? Half of US consumers use voice search every day. When you go down in age, so below sort of 28, then the use of voice search is more than typed search. But why does this matter? Because when we use our voices, our brains do something interesting. They think we're talking to a person, and so we have more of a conversation than a fragmented search, right? So, I don't know, dentist Denver, right, would be a very common type search. A voice search might be, what's the best dentist in Denver? What's the nearest dentist in Denver to me? I should have picked something easier to say. Which dentist near me takes my insurance, right? And we'll come back to that insurance one in a minute because that's sort of key to what these new search engines are. So we already know that this is happening. So if people are being trained to have conversational search, as it's called, and they're being trained by ChatGPT to have a back and forth to get the answers, you can see why old school Google, and it feels a bit crazy to call it that, but old school Google is dying. Right? They're certainly their model. Side note is people will often say to me, well, why would Google do this, right? Why would they kill their business? I actually think they don't have a choice. I think there's one last great technology game left to play, and that is who will be your personal AI for the rest of your life. And I think that will fall down on the divisions between Android and Apple iOS. And so it's in Google's interest to be in this game because that's the game they want to be in, right? So all that's happening, who's in this game of AI search engines? Well, Perplexity, who just raised another astonishing amount of money, Gemini from Google, different to AI overviews, although technically powers AI overviews, and now OpenAI's SearchGPT, right? This is the landscape of who's in the game. Go play with them all, go try them all. It's a pretty fun experience. I mentioned the idea of what dentist in Denver is near me who takes my insurance. The reason why I use that example is that is Perplexity's promise, right? They will find enough information on each of those sites to answer a multifaceted question for you so that you don't have to go do all that digging. You would have done Denver dentist and then gone and looked at all those sites or called those people or messaged them or chatbotted them, whatever, to figure out if they took your insurance. For those of you outside the US, yeah, dental insurance, I know. But now you don't need to, right? Perplexity will go find all the rest of that information and we'll put it together for you and say, okay, these dentists are near you and they take your insurance. That's just a better consumer experience. And when you think about product design and product marketing, there's the factor of 10x, right? If your service, if your product is 10x better, you barely have to market it because the market will move to you. That's what's going to happen here. That is a 10x better outcome. What are the claims of AI search engines? All these. I listen to a whole bunch of podcasts, interviews, TikTok videos for you so you don't have to. This is kind of the claims that people say AI search engines are going to introduce. I agree with the first one. It's definitely a better search experience. I think we're very quickly going to look back at Google like we do Ask Jeeves, right? And we think, wow, that was an archaic experience. A lot of people, this sort of bullet point near the end, are talking about the idea of creativity in content is going to be more important. What they mean is that in a conversation, you stay longer in a conversation if it's an interesting conversation. So if you can bring some creativity or interest into the conversation, you're probably likely to get quoted more. That's interesting because that changes the whole content marketing landscape. Here's the reality. Nobody knows. Right? You're going to read and see lots of things that say, this is what SearchGPT is, and this is where it's going. You're going to see the same thing about Perplexity. You're going to say the same thing about Google. There is a reality here that there is a handful of companies who have the money and resources to play in this game and get scale. They're all going to learn from each other's feedback from you as you use them, right? So I don't think really anybody at this stage has a good idea as to what the actual outcome is going to be. But what I will tell you is if you start using all of them and getting used to them, you can sort of triangulate, I think, over time where you think that's going to go. My only sort of prediction at this point is SEO's long dead, the way everyone's been doing it anyway. The new SEO, because of all of this, has changed over the last 12 months anyway. Schedule with me if you want to learn more about that. So I think SEO, as it was done before, will just die on the vine, right? Content marketing has already had to change because your content now has to be structured differently over the last 12 months. It has to be more question and answer orientated. It has to have the double eats, the authority stuff. Look on YouTube, I've got videos on that. And I think these new search engines are going to win to some degree. A final point I worry about, though, that I predict is that Google has had all the information. Most people for most searches never felt they had to go anywhere else after asking Google the question, apart from clicking out to those sites, of course. Hearst Publishing, lots of magazines, lots of newspapers, just sold their back catalog to OpenAI, back catalog and future catalog. So does that mean things like Perplexity will be blocked from seeing that content? I don't think so, but it is possible if the ownership of the content is now shifting to these search engines themselves. So maybe to find things, we're going to get into a situation where we're going to have to use more than one of these AI search engines, and maybe there'll be sort of like an Uber AI search engine that consolidates them all together, and we get into that race again. I don't know, but that's something else to have on your mind. So that's it for today. Look out for alerts if you're on our newsletter for the full webinar about SearchGPT. Shoot me an email here, dax@fomo.ai, something in the subject line like webinar, and I'll make sure you get notified when we put that out. Thanks very much. Have a great day.